All right. So, hello, hello. We are live on YouTube. It's me and Rob, and we have lots of time today. So, for anyone,
Absolutely. Yes,
absolutely, we have
we
espresso.
do. We have espresso,
Espresso. Mm-hmm.
espresso,
Yeah.
and shenanigans.
We always have shenanigans. That's the
Yes.
best part.
So I'm hoping somebody's out there that wants to engage in the aforementioned shenanigans.
Yes. So, we're just going to be here. If you don't have any questions, I know a lot of people don't get the notifications until like half an hour in or whatever, but any questions, put them in the chat.
Yes.
If there is a stream of questions coming in at the same time, please put a capital Q in front of the question. Will make it easier for me, but I don't think I usually have 10, 20 people, so we'll probably be fine. And meanwhile, we can just have a chat
All
while we
right.
wait for
Sounds
people
good to
to
me.
turn
Yeah.
up. So, what have you been up to? I mean, it wasn't that long since I saw you, but
I know.
I'm
This
sure you've
is
been up to some shenanigans.
this is really cool because the video that we did, the chat that we did, what was it like? Not even a week ago, was it?
It was a couple of weeks ago since we recorded it, and
Was it?
just over a week since I released it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I noticed it had a lot of people were watching it and said some great comments, and I really appreciated that, and I really enjoyed it. So, if you haven't seen it, and there's an hour and a half that you never need back, then I recommend checking it out because I had a great time. Yeah, I really had a good time doing that. Always have a good time hanging out with you. So,
Well, thank you. Likewise. And what I want to say is that I've heard a lot of people, you might not have seen it, they commented in the Facebook group as well and just telling me, like, I really like this dude. And it's so nice to just hear someone who's open to not being 100% anything. Like,
right,
whatever
right,
works, that's what we focus on. And
right.
I think that just resonates so much with my take on diet and what people should be doing, even when it comes to their addiction, because if you don't want to do it, it's never going to work. And it's the same thing. Your body has a mind of its own. If it doesn't work for your body, it's not going to work. So do something different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can't be dogmatic about nutrition. There's so many things that factor in to anyone's results, genetics, time and training, metabolic distress. I mean, there's a list a mile long. You have to take all that in consideration. And, something that I always say is, I got into this game, many, many years ago as a trainer and a coach. And, call me weird, but it's all about the client's results and whatever path we have to take to get the client the results that they're aiming for in the most direct path possible is the goal. And I think so many, influencers, is that the term we're using still these days? I can't
Yes.
keep up.
I don't keep up. I'm too old.
Yeah. You're old. But yeah, I mean, and I don't mean to keep beating this dead horse or be too repetitive, but so many out there, make it about themselves and,
Mm,
selling their ideology.
love it.
And it's not about you, it's about the client. It's about the people that you're trying to serve. And, how you care for others is, like I said, I think in our broadcast, is your measure of greatness. And I've been living by that quote for many, many years. And I don't always succeed, but I always do the best I can. And not everybody is going to succeed in the same methodology. So we have to be willing to, take a hard right or a hard left and do whatever we got to do for the client. And hey, somebody likes this duo.
Yeah. Thank you,
Sweet.
Tracy.
There's one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one. Okay,
That's the
good.
one. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And when you said that, I was thinking that some people might not like us because we are doing that, and that's
Right.
fine.
That's fine.
The, our people will find us, and if they just want someone who's very dogmatic and rigid in their approach, they're going to find that person as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
that's fine.
I do a lot of consultations, and I think I've done 3 or 4 this week already. And oddly, and this is actually kind of rare, I had 3 in a row, and all 3 were wanting to do a physique competition.
Okay.
And I'm some people kind of know me for doing that kind of coaching, but they'd be surprised to find out that only probably 3% of my clientele are actually physique competitors. Most are just
Interesting.
normal people just trying to carve out the best physique they can, and in any means possible, living a very hectic life. But I did have 3 in a row that I consulted with that needed some really in-depth, detailed advice on how they can truly maximize their programming, their nutrition, their training, and kind of what that would look like in real time, taking them down to their local physique competition. And it even struck me that these 3 people, they were all so unique in what they needed in order to achieve their greatest genetic potential. And I was kind of struck when I was looking at my notes, at the conclusion of these 3 consultations, at how each one took such different turns, all sort of leading to the same goal. And it just reiterated to me that, we are all individuals, and we all take different paths, and your roadmap is going to be different from someone else's roadmap. But you have to do whatever it takes to lead them to the destination. And it always surprises me, the uniqueness of every human being and individual that I deal with, and it's refreshing, and it reminds me that I need to be on my game and be hyper aware of that to make sure that I'm doing everything in their best interest at all times. And I know you do the same.
Absolutely. And now you destroyed my question because I was like, okay, what if what if
Thanks.
someone
Yeah.
yeah, what if someone like me, like I'm 46, I I do I don't do a lot of exercise anymore. I used to do a lot of exercise, but for the last few years I really haven't.
Mhm.
If I wanted to go and compete, like how long would that take me? And you're like,
I
it
tell
depends.
nearly, unless you're just a complete metabolic train wreck,
No.
which you're not, or
Well,
morbidly obese, which you're not, I
no.
say everybody should give it a year. And people get surprised when they hear that, because even somebody who may be in relatively, decent shape, I mean, it's still, there's so many nuances to competition.
Yeah.
It's, for lack of a better term, it is a very specific sport, and it's a very specific outcome, and there's a very specific chain of events that need to occur, and you need to hone these skills at every level to be the best that you can possibly be. And it's like I told all these 3 consultation people that I had, just about everyone begins a very slow titration, meticulous cut at about 24 weeks out, at about 6 months out. And
Mm.
whether they are, like, if it's a male, whether he is 16% body fat or 11% body fat, it's still going to be roughly 24 weeks out. But that doesn't mean we go right into this super hard, cut, and they're just suffering for 6 months, because that would be very irresponsible, because it would put great damage on their endocrine system and their hormonal output, and it would just push that person into a cave and that they may not be able to pull out of. But there's this different level, this of cascading titration that you have to slowly move down towards, and it needs to be very meticulous in every move that you make. So outside of that 6 months, if you can take that time to sort of, in a relaxed state, try to maximize as much strength, the addition or preservation of lean mass, developing the mindset of competition, which is a very difficult thing to do, and just
Yeah.
having that time in the trenches working with your coach, making sure that, all of the dominoes are lining up, so that ultimately we can, meticulously knock each one over as we move closer to the goal. So, some people come to me 8 months out, some people come to me 6 months out, some people come to me a year out. But if anytime somebody says, how long should I take for a competition prep if I want to be my absolute best, I say, in some regard, give yourself a year. That
Mm.
needs to be the whole periodization of the gaining and maintaining and preservation of lean muscle, or the addition of lean muscle. And then every few months we're sort of taking a different turn until it leads us to that 24-week, and then we make adjustments at 16 weeks, and then we make adjustments at 12 weeks, which is usually when the cut starts to get pretty intense, and then further adjustments at 6 to 8 weeks depending on where they are. And then we start really getting them into mindset of what that competition is going to look like and feel like and smell like, and the whole visceral aspect of competing on stage against your peers, and just making sure that they're mentally approaching it, and they're prepared for battling it out on stage. And then, which leads us down to about 4 weeks out. And then you have to get ready for what we call peak week, which is the final week before competition, which is a whole another set of what I call voodoo that we have to go through in order to
Hmm.
prepare yourself to look the very best you can. And the thing about it is, this kind of encapsulates it. You decide to compete, which is great. And I think, everybody should try it once, just in their local competition in their own local community. But the thing is what's so unique about it is 8 months out, 10 months out, a year out, as I'm, consulting with that client, sometimes it's a little shocking to remind them that we're trying to meticulously put together a scenario where on one day at this time, 8 months from now, we want you to be the best genetic peeled version of yourself that you've ever been. And to be able to, navigate that, and looking that far into the future, and always making sure that we are kind of steering the ship, properly without screwing anything up. And there will be screw ups. And half the time when I meet with my clients, like on Zoom and our check-ins or whatever, oftentimes it's just to reassure or talk them off the ledge, which is,
Mm.
again, that's your field. You're practically as much of a therapist as you are a coach. So, long-winded answer to your question is, give yourself a year, just so that you properly cultivate not only the right physical attributes, but you cultivate the right mental acuity and attributes that's going to prepare you for that road ahead. And I hope that really long answer makes sense.
It does. And my brain is like, a year? Nah, nah, that wouldn't work for me. I need probably 5.
Well, you don't, but it really doesn't matter how far it is outside of that year. But if somebody, oftentimes somebody will contact me and say, listen, I've made this decision. I want to do this. This is my bucket list, and
Mm,
oftentimes and I have the honor and privilege of being able to work with just normal people. And when I say that, it's like, I'm not working with the highest level pros. I'm
yeah.
working with the 46-year-old mother who just sent their last kid off to college. And now she's like, damn it, it's time for me to do something really freaking cool, because it's been a long time. And I
Mm.
want to do this for me. And now it's about me. And it's so exciting to team up with somebody in that circumstance and just sort of ride that wave with them, and all the highs and the lows, and the maneuvering that goes with that. And oftentimes, once again, when they do their check-ins, it's not necessarily as much about, hey, your physique looks great, you're on point, your macros look good, your training is on point. Oftentimes it's just having those conversations to reassure them in, those times of panic. And when they're completely, because when you get deep into a contest preparation, the mental gremlins
Oh
really
God,
start
I
to
can
take
just
over.
imagine.
I mean, at my very best, like I distinctly remember I'd be 4 weeks out from a competition, and of course the people in the gym, your friends, family members, all tell you how fantastic you look. Well, you can't pay any attention to that, because of course they're going to tell you that. They're your
Mhm.
friends, they're your family, and they don't quite understand the nuances of just how you have to look on stage. And then the gremlins get in your head, and everybody's telling me, wow, you look big, you look jacked, you look ripped. And then I look in the mirror and I see, Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, I see every possible flaw that there could possibly be. And then you've really got to wrap your head around that. And I just had a woman, short story. She just did her second competition of the year. She's in her 40s, and she placed third in all 3 categories. And
Nice.
every category was slammed with amazing competitors. This was in the NPC, which is kind of the minor leagues of the pro bodybuilding world. So it's a big deal. And many times when she would do a check-in with me, it would be, okay, turn on the cameras. I'm on, she's on, and it's immediately her saying, okay, I look like shit. I don't belong. This isn't going to work. This is completely screwed up. Screw this. I look terrible. And I'd be like, I looked at your progress pics. You look amazing. You are on point. You are on schedule. We've got a couple little boxes we need to tick. We're going to do that in the next coming weeks. And guess what? You're going to stand on stage in 4 weeks and you're going to fucking crush it. And then she'd be like, oh, okay. Well, I feel better then. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll talk to you in a couple of days. And that was it. It was like, that's
Yeah.
all she needed, was that little bit of reassurance from somebody other than probably her kid or her husband, or Sally that she works with. And
Yeah.
so, it's funny, dealing with human beings under that not only physical, but mental stress as you approach something that is really quite terrifying if you think about it. It's like, oh, in 4 weeks, I'm going to be standing on stage under bright lights in front of a
Yep.
thousand people in practically my underwear. Okay, great.
Yep.
Let's do
I,
this. You know?
I don't know how people do it. I'm like, I would be so, I would have to do so much mental work to not just completely be in my head and like, oh my God, everyone's judging me, which they are,
Right.
by the way.
Yeah. By the way, you are being judged
Yeah.
meticulously with every, like 99% of your body exposed. I hope
Yeah.
I'm not terrifying anybody that might be thinking about it, because it is an amazing experience. It truly is an amazing experience. And some of the greatest memories of the last 30 years for me were some of those contest preps. I mean, I remember the very first one I did. This was in 2015. I'm a guy in my 40s and I've been in the industry for years, and I've been on the other side of it for decades. I've helped other competitors and coached other people and went to the shows and been the guy backstage telling the competitor what to do. And now it's me. And I'd never actually been that guy under the bright lights and all the pressure. And, it was just such a cool experience because, when you go out initially for what's called pre-judging. That's when you go out with your class, the judges literally prejudge you. They judge you. And that's really where they make their decision. And then you come back later in the evening for the evening show, which is just really a formality. That's just kind of like for the fans, your family. And that's when you get your medal, you do your little routine or whatever. But I remember, in 2015, I was back there and I was terrified and I was nervous. And I went out to do my first prejudging and I completely blew it, because as much as I'd worked on my physique and the dieting, the posing just caught me off guard, because you go out there and there's no mirrors. You can't see anything. It's just blinding white light. And I completely blew it. And I really knew I did. So I go backstage and here comes my 5'2" wife running backstage. And she, in all this pressure, she looks at me and she says, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, what? She's like, "What are you doing up there? You look like a deer caught in the headlights. You're showing no confidence. This is not you. You've worked your ass off for this. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, so, sorry." She's like, "No," because I had one more class to do. I was doing 2 classes. She's like, "You get your ass out there and you own that fucking stage and stop screwing around." I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And that's
Good
all
wife.
that's all that it took. Exactly. That I needed a real kick in the ass. And just, to give you a funny little story that goes with that, when you're on stage, with the men and the open bodybuilders, I remember distinctly, we get to this front the classic, double bicep pose that we do.
Mhm.
And the guy standing to my right had put his arm in front of mine. He's trying to get the judges to look at him. And I was like, I took my wife's advice. Fuck it. I'm going for it. So I scooped his arm, threw it out of the
There
way,
you
took
go.
a step forward and said, "Bitches, it's me you want to be looking at," which is very out of character for me, because believe it or not, nobody will. I'm kind of an introvert until I have
I
to not
believe you.
be. But so I get out on stage and I do that. And it turns out, I ended up placing second in that class, where I showed a little confidence after getting yelled at by my wife. And the first
Excellent.
class, the prejudging, I'd placed third. So clearly having, getting out there and not only looking the part, but truly competing getting out there, because those judges, they're all competitive. They're all former competitors. They want to see people up there doing battle. And, and if you want to get a little gushy about it, this is a sweet story. Afterwards, I went backstage when I found out that I had placed second in a pretty big show, my first show, a guy in his 40s. I was kind of emotional, and I was just sitting there thinking, holy shit, second place. That's not bad. I wasn't thinking, I thought I might not even make the top 10. And I get a text message from my spunky ass wife, and it simply said, "You're my hero." I'm like, all right. So I start bawling like a 3-year-old, and I think it was at that moment that all of that stress and emotion and work that I'd went through for months finally just came pouring out of me. And that's all it took, was that one phrase from the girl that just got done screaming at me, 30 minutes prior to that. It was an incredible moment. And I say all this just to sort of reiterate that it is just an unbelievable experience to do something like that. And when it's all over, I thought to myself back then, oh, I'm going to do this one show just to really have a feel for what it's like to actually be a competitor, which will make me a better coach. And then I'll be done. Well, almost 10 years later, and multiple shows, I got kind of addicted to it. And the odd thing is, just to wrap this up, because I'm talking too much, is when I finally decided to retire in 2021, then I'm glad I did. That was the right thing to do. But now I find myself missing that. But what I find myself missing wasn't the easy parts. I find myself missing the really hard parts. I find myself missing the hard dieting and those last few weeks, and, all the work that went into it. Because I think as human beings, when you're pushing yourself super hard to achieve a goal, I think that's just part of the human spirit. I think we draw from that energy from that, and truly, miraculous things come out of suffering. And I just think that's how we're built. I mean, leopards are born muscular and fast. We're born gushy globs that need to be taken care of 100% or we die. So it's all about, growing and getting stronger and becoming better and tearing yourself down to become something better. And physique competition kind of encapsulates that in many, many ways. And you emerge out of that just a hardened soul, and you'll find that things that come your way after that experience, you don't get quite as stressed out about it. And you have this little bit of spark of attitude that has you prepared to take on anything that crosses your path. And it's a really neat experience. So I never thought we'd be talking about bodybuilding on this chat. But,
well,
okay.
I have one more question for you before we actually have a question there, and I'll get to you, Tracy. If I said, yeah, please, Rob, can you help me? But I don't have access to a gym. Could I still do it?
I would tell you, you're going to need to make an investment in your home gym to at least some degree. That's a great question, because I actually had a guy on Facebook message me and say, hey, I want to do your gold coaching plan, but it said on there, you might want to have this minimum bit of equipment, and I don't have this and I don't have that. And I said, well, those two things we can do without. That's fine. I'm glad you were transparent with me. And I told him, if you've got, a decent range of dumbbells, you've got an adjustable bench and just a couple other things, as long as we have some resistance to work against, we can make practically anything work. So yes, absolutely. And I have trained people to the stage with just a small garage gym. So it's definitely possible. Now, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I've got a couple of bands, and a spin bike, can I compete? I'd be like, no. We're going to need to make a little
what about
investment.
calisthenics?
No, not for physique competition. Because think about it, you're building as much lean muscularity as you possibly can, and then meticulously dieting down to reveal that physique and be the best balance, symmetrical balance of muscularity, of symmetry, of proportion, of leanness. So maybe in the women's bikini division, Maybe in the men's physique division, you might be able to get away with a lot of body weight and calisthenic type stuff, but there's going to be some resistance needed. You're going to have to do, at the very minimum, if you had no equipment, push-ups and pull-ups and dips, and you're going to have to get really creative. And we could certainly help somebody work through that, but you know, weights are like golf clubs and motorcycles. Everybody buys them with the best intentions and then sells them on the cheap. So it's not hard normally to find some used dumbbells and a couple of benches and maybe a barbell, throw that into your garage or your basement or even your backyard, and we can make that work. So yes, you could.
Nice. Okay. Right. So Tracy has a question for you. She says, thoughts on best training to build bone density in osteoporosis? What's BTWN?
Between
Between
strength.
strength versus hypertrophy and optimal rest time between sets and between lifts on compound exercises, deadlift,
Okay.
pull down, squats, question mark.
Gotcha. Well, bone density in regard to especially osteoporosis is just, I hate to sound too simple, but it's just about, strength and resistance training. Putting resistance on the muscle is also going to help with bone density. And free weight movements especially are going to help with bone density. And other things you can do to build bone density are going to be more calisthenic style things like jumping, things of that, where there's a stress being applied with a high rate of force quickly is going to be good for bone density as well. I've got 7 or 8 clients in my gym in their 70s, which I'm really proud of. And they're doing things in this gym that they never thought would have been possible even a year ago. And, just yesterday morning, my client Jack, who just turned 70, he loves to play golf. He loves to be active. So one of the things that we regularly do on one of our sessions is jump squats. And he, has stressed to me how much his golf game has improved and just his quality of life when he started jumping and doing more explosive movements in that regard. So that's one thing. But to continue with the question, at the bottom line, and this can kind of encapsulate just about anything that comes across, it's all about muscle. It's all about muscle, especially not only for every human being, especially if you're over 40. So these people that say, I want to get in the best shape of my life, so I'm going to go eat salads all day and walk. Well, you're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You want to take every manner of precaution you can to make sure that you're focusing on the addition and preservation of lean muscle tissue. So I love the fact that, is Tracy, did you say? Mm-hmm. Is talking about compound exercises and deadlifts and pull downs and squats. That's the kind of stuff you need to be doing because it's all about muscle, and these movements are going to be hypertrophy driven movements. And time between sets, well, once again, it's all about muscle, but in that same realm, if it's all about muscle, then what is the most efficient way to build muscle? That's going to be intensity. Of all the metrics needed to build muscle, there's intensity, duration, frequency. Of all of these, the most important will always be intensity. So in terms of time between sets, there's no real magic number. For me, it's going to be the amount of time to feel like I'm physically and mentally prepared to go to that next set and give it absolutely everything I have and know that I can get to the point of momentary muscular failure, i.e. not being able to perform another repetition with good form. Now, if I can do that, then I know that I have put the growth mechanism into motion. So you don't need a lot of sets. It's not about volume, it's about intensity. So oftentimes 1 or 2 sets may be all you need, provided you push yourself to the point of momentary muscular concentric failure, meaning if you're doing, like she had mentioned, pull downs, if I'm doing a set of pull downs, I might do 1 set at roughly 70% of my perceived maximum. Then I'm going to mentally prepare myself. I might walk around the gym, turn on the right song, whatever the case may be, to make sure that I go into that next set. And I know that if I've mapped out a maximum weight that I think I can perform for about 8 to 10 repetitions, that I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to the point where an additional repetition would not be physically possible. And if I do that, then I've put the growth mechanism into motion. And that's when it's time to move away from that exercise and move on to the next one because the job has been done and growth has been stimulated. Now, the most important thing to do is recover and feed the muscle. So if it's about strength and hypertrophy, it's about working to that high level of intensity to the point of momentary failure, taking enough time between sets to sort of transition from that feeder set to that full out failure set and give it everything you have. And if you do that, the results will most definitely come. Most people are grossly overtrained and they put more emphasis on the workout rather than the recovery. Well, the workout is just the stimulus. When you're working out, you're tearing down muscle. You're creating micro tears in the muscle. It's damaging tissue. So keep doing set after set after set is not going to create more growth. It's just going to create more inroad to recovery. So do 1 or 2 really hard sets to failure with perfect form, and then get the hell away from there and let the muscle grow and feed it. That's how you're going to grow. Again, most people are overtrained and undernourished.
And can I add to that as well what most people are
No,
doing?
you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Oh.
This is just me. Of course, it's your damn show. Yeah, of course.
I like listening to you though. From my experience anyway, like working to failure is not something people do. They're like, yeah, I can do 10, and then I can do another 10, and another 10, and it's fine. I just need to rest another minute extra, and I can do another 10. Like they never get to the failure because they mentally it's so hard to actually put on these 70, 80, 90% of whatever your max is.
Right.
To work to that failure.
That's when you start have to ask clients questions. If I say to you, if you can easily do 10 reps 3 times and you can handle that level of stress, then why would your body feel the need as a defense mechanism to grow from that? It's not.
Indeed.
You have to challenge yourself and do hard things in order to grow. The great Arthur Jones, and I'm going to screw this story up, but it's brilliant. He said, if you write your own name down 100 times on a piece of paper, that's not going to help you grow your vocabulary. Anybody can write their own damn name 100 times. It's not going to increase any level of proficiency with your vocabulary. If you want to increase your vocabulary, seek difficult words. And then after you seek very, very difficult words that you have to learn, then use those very difficult words in very difficult sentences. The point he was trying to make is if you continually are doing things that are easy or just at the almost to the point of difficult, your body never gets the signal that it needs to change. Muscle growth is a defense mechanism. By doing the set that you just mentioned, Pim, to get to that point of failure, it's only that last most difficult rep where your body sends a signal and it says, okay, I don't know what the hell she was just doing there, but it was fucking hard. So in the event that she ever does that again, we must not only compensate from that level of stress, but we must now overcompensate with the addition of new muscle tissue. So in the event she does this again, then the likelihood of her being able to deal with that level of weight will be enhanced. It'll be better. And that is muscle growth. But I think I explained this in the last time we talked. If you think of muscle growth as digging a hole, when you're in the gym doing hard sets, it's like digging a hole in the earth. You're actually creating damage. So then what you have to do is you have to then move away and let the body compensate from the stress that you just put on it by filling that hole back up to ground level. And then give it a little additional time to overcompensate, which would mean a little extra dirt packed on top. That's the new tissue growth. So many people go into the gym Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they never give their body ample time to not only compensate, but then overcompensate and become stronger and better. Because at the end of the day, it's what? It's all about muscle. And I don't care who you are. If you are a living, breathing human being with a pulse, your number one concern, especially if it's about aesthetics and body composition, should be muscle, because the more muscle you have, the higher metabolic rate, the better you look. And then when you combine it with the right diet and peel that body fat off, it's going to reveal a beautiful, sexy, gorgeous physique. It's women who say, "Oh, I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to look bulky." That's an asinine statement. An asinine statement. Number one, a woman, because they don't have much testosterone, they don't have male hormones, for a natural, unenhanced female to put on 3 to 5 pounds of muscle in a year would be fantastic. So the point I'm trying to make is you want to claw and scrape your way to try to build as much as you possibly can, because every ounce you put on is precious, life-giving muscle that once you peel away the body fat is going to be beautiful, gorgeous. And I say this every single day now for 30 years. I don't compare yourself to others. However, if you can meticulously reach your greatest genetic potential, the very best potential with what you were given genetically, you will be thrilled with the results. I guarantee it. So that needs to be what we strive to accomplish.
I have 2 questions for you now. You talk so much that I just build up my questions that you can continue talking.
So all I heard there was you talk too much. So, okay.
Not at all. So the first thought that came to mind is actually a problem that I have. So I I don't have patience to lift too lightweight. I'm like, no, I don't have the
Good.
time. I just want to
Good.
lift heavy. But I feel like when it's heavy, it's like I'm planning on maybe doing 6 reps, and I end up doing 4 or 5. And it's
Okay.
like the connection is kind of just going, like it just disappears. And it feels like I'm never really exhausting my muscles because it's like somehow I believe that I can do another one, but it's like the muscle doesn't really function well. And
Mhm.
if I just reduce the weight a little bit, then I could probably pull another couple of reps or whatever. Am I just putting too much weight on when I'm doing that? Should I kind of go
Yeah.
down a little bit?
Now, when I say this, if there were 1,000 people listening, 200 would start yelling at me and have their own opinions, but I don't give a shit
Excellent.
because I'm old now and I've been doing this a long time and I've seen too much. In regard to just pure strength, if you want to be able to pick up a Buick, then that 3, 5, 6 rep range is kind of where you want to be. Think power lifter.
Yeah.
Now, if you think hypertrophy, and Tracy even talked about distinguishing between strength and hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, building more lean muscle mass, then I really think you're going to want to be somewhere between that 8 and 12 rep range. I think that's going to be your ideal rep range to stimulate new tissue growth.
Yeah.
So it's not being about able to lift a Buick or 1,000 pounds. It's about the right amount of weight and the right amount of repetitions to stimulate the proper response to generate new growth and new tissue. And let's face it, a lot of it is just an aesthetic goal, which is fine. But to be very clear, clearly, you're still going to get stronger. So, I like when I train, it's very simplified. This is a very elementary way to explain this, but strength training is not rocket science. I find a weight, after experimenting with, I've been doing this 30 years. So when I go to select a weight or a movement, let's say 2 weeks ago, I did this exercise at this weight and I failed at 8 reps. Okay, I jot that down. No problem. Then let's say 2 weeks later, that same weight, I now got 9 reps. Okay, then I'm logically, I'm getting a little stronger. And then a week later, if I all of a sudden say, then I get 11 reps, I'm like, okay, clearly there's progress. So then what I would do is I would bump the weight up a small amount and see if I could then get back to 8. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm always stair stepping that 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 reps. So I find a weight where I'm truly at the point of momentary failure with good form at around 8 reps. And that's sort of my baseline. And then when I can do that same weight for then 9, 10, 11, maybe even 12 reps, well, that's clear, steady progress. Now it's time, because I don't want to do 15 reps and 30 and then 50 reps, because more is not better. It's the
Yeah.
precise amount required to generate a response. So once I can lift that same weight now 11 or 12 times, okay, now it's time the next time to bump the weight up, maybe another plate, another pin, or whatever, another a bigger dumbbell, and see if I can use that heavier weight and get back to my starter rep range around 8 reps. If it's 7, that's fine. If it's 9, that's fine. But then I'm back to my baseline for that new weight, and I'm showing consistent progress as I go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I think what I was kind of struggling with is the that my muscles seem to turn off.
Mhm.
And is that because it's just okay, this is a bit too heavy. We're not going to do this because we don't want to get damaged. Is that what's going on there, or
Yeah, I mean, you
that
know
is?
what? That's a tricky one because and I teach this a lot. I actually have people travel to my gym and want to do like a weekend boot camp. And one of the things that we end up really getting caught up on and spending a lot of time with is learning how to go to failure. It
Mm,
is a difficult thing to
yeah,
get proficient at. It is a mental game, maybe more so than even a physical game, because now we're back to some of these things that you're truly going. This is your wheelhouse. Your brain is going to tell you that it's too much, that we're creating damage, shut down, stop doing this. This is harmful. Let's create pain. Let's create lactic acid. So the ability to push beyond that mentally and continue to give it everything you have and push through that mental barrier in order to understand what true failure feels like. It took me years back in the
yeah,
90s to truly learn what failure was. And I was fortunate enough that I was around some pretty hardcore people, and some of them were like top level coaches and top level bodybuilders that didn't give me the option, that were truly going to teach me what true structured suffering was. And you will have breakthroughs, and I had some of those breakthroughs myself, and yeah, it hurts, and yeah, it's stressful, but that's another argument for less volume, trading that off for more intensity. Because let's face it, are you going to be able to give 100% and beyond level of intensity for 3, 4, 5, 6 sets? No. Volume and intensity do not coexist. They're mutually exclusive. It's either one or the other. And intensity is going to be the quicker path to progress. So I would much rather learn how to give everything that I have for that 1 or 2 sets and then walk away and know that growth has been stimulated, and then move on to the next exercise. Or if that's the conclusion of my workout, then go home or go eat or whatever, take a freaking nap. So yeah, it's a learned activity for sure. And some people are better at it than others. I admittedly, hey, shocker alert, I like aggressive things. I like heavy music and loud motorcycles and, violent movies. But at the same time, I can be a big ass sensitive crybaby as well. I have a lot of raging emotions and I have a lot of strong emotions. And I've found a way to sort of use that aggression in a constructive and positive manner in order to achieve something very positive. And so there's no answer to your question other than it's a learned thing. And you will have those breakthrough workouts where you are able to just really, as I like to say, piss lightning and shit thunder, and just get in there and eat nails and get it done. And you will learn from those experiences.
mm. I think yeah, I think I do have the problem. Like as to say, I don't have the patience for 10 reps. My brain's like, we're done way before that.
You
So
need to
I need
work
that
on
boot
that.
camp.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you need a boot camp.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
if you don't have the patience to perform a set of 10 reps in the gym,
Yeah.
then you got bigger problems than but that's
But
another
that's why I
that's another
gravitated
story.
towards Olympic weightlifting. You don't have to do
Yeah.
10 reps of
Yeah.
anything. It's
Well,
just fun.
in all seriousness though, high intensity, low volume is right up your alley. And
Mm.
the reason it's right up my alley too is I don't want to go through hour-long marathon workouts because I like the intensity. I like the aggression. I like
Yeah.
the pushing yourself to a place that you normally wouldn't go and beyond. I would rather give it everything, like full gas, pedal to the floor, nuclear explosion as hard as I can for 20 minutes in the gym and then get the hell out than meandering through the gym doing,
Oh
arbitrary
God. Oh.
set after set after set. That never really made sense to me. And many years ago in the early 1990s, when I first started training really hard, it only took me about 4 months when I started, reading and studying the concepts of high intensity, low volume training. And this makes total sense. These long-winded, high volume, like who decided 3 sets? Who decided 10? I mean, it's all so arbitrary,
Mm.
So once we determine what a good rep range would be for muscular growth, then push that to the limit and then walk away, set the growth mechanism into motion, and then let that occur. Because, you know, I ask questions of my clients to convince them of the logic. And a week doesn't go by where I don't say to a client or a consult, if you give that second set after you're mentally and physically stimulated and prepared, you go into that hard failure work set. If you get to the point where, back to Tracy's pull downs, if I am rep number 7 and it literally takes 10 seconds to finish that rep because it's so difficult, and then I psych myself up for rep number 8, and it's just absolutely almost impossible no matter what I'm throwing at it. And I finally maybe get it down. And then if I go after rep number 9 and there is nothing that I can do, unless I completely screw up my form, which I don't want to do, if there becomes nothing that I can do to finish that 9th rep, then I slowly return the bar back to rest and I walk away. And then my question is always to the client, in that scenario, why would you do another set? And then
Mm.
I just wait because they don't have a logical answer. And they always say, well, I guess you wouldn't need to. Like, no, you wouldn't. You have
Ding ding
stimulated the
ding.
growth mechanism. Now it's time to walk away and go to the next exercise. Or if that was the last exercise, then go home. Because now the most important element of your training is the recovery component, because that's when the magic happens. That's when growth occurs. So you got people spending 5-6 days a week in the gym for hours at a time, not putting an emphasis on recovery and rest, and wondering why nothing's happening. Or they may
Yeah.
be eating shitty diets even on top of that to making matters even worse. So, that it's like anything else. If it's something you want to be successful at, it's going to take, you need to educate yourself. You need to practice. You need to become a student of it. You need to be logical. You need to be rational at thought. And you need to make this a sincere, structured, intense endeavor that you engage in on a regular basis with the idea of improvement at every time. That's what it is. It's not just, hey man, let's sling around some weights, dude, and then check our phones and do a selfie. And
Oh God.
that's not the point. It's about blood,
Don't wind me
sweat,
up.
tears. Yeah, exactly.
That's so good. I really like what you said, like, because I always bring it in, like, you need to focus on the right thing. You need to focus on the thing that is going to give you the
Yeah.
results that you want, and the right thing, the thing that you need to focus on, is to stimulate that growth and then let yourself grow.
Yes.
And however you do that, that's where you come in.
Yeah, I mean, it like anything,
Yeah.
the physical practice of it, the mental practice of it, all takes practice, and it's all a skill that has to be learned. And repetition is the mother of skill, meaning continue to do it on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
learn from your mistakes, learn from your successes, and develop the skill. Like anything else, any endeavor in life where the goal is to become improved upon, then it's all about mastering a skill, and it's about repetition and becoming better and learning from mistakes and successes.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with everything you say.
Well, that's kind. You're the one.
Yeah,
I mean, at least
doesn't
there's
make me
one
look
out there that
intelligent.
doesn't think I'm just a. I did one of my recent YouTube videos, which I thought, hey, this actually isn't terrible. The first comment was the guy said, "Old man screams at the sky." That was his comment. So all he got out of that was the fact that I'm old and all I'm doing is screaming. I'm like, okay,
Apparently,
great. Okay. Well,
I think
good.
I need to watch more of your videos.
Well, if you come to the same conclusion, I quit. All right.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm not everybody's brand of vodka, clearly, but at least it's sincere, and at the end of the day, I do what I do to help people because that's what I get enjoyment out of. So I sit in
Yeah.
this
Well,
dark, scary room and come up with evil ways to make people better through pain.
nice. I
Pretty cool
like it.
job, really.
Yeah. I shall give you pain. So the other question I had, this could be a short answer actually. How many hours would I need to spend exercising if I started now from nowhere
Um, I would
per
say
week?
3 to 4 sessions a week for probably no more than 30 to 45 minutes.
See? Easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's for somebody who wants to compete.
Yes.
Okay. Imagine if you're watching this and you're sitting at home and thinking, all right, I know I got to work out. I mean, I know, I get it. But all those hours in the gym, if I have clients that come to me in the gym 2 days a week for 30 minutes, 2 days a week, I'm not bullshitting you. It's probably 60% of my clients come to me 2 days a week for 30 minutes. Now we go hard for that 30 minutes, but then the 30 minutes flies by. They kick ass. When the session is over, they feel amazing because that's always the way it works. When they walk in the door, they're angry and bitter and they hate the world. And after the 30-minute session, they leave like all the weight of the world is off their shoulders and they feel amazing. Isn't it funny how that works? So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, you could literally, if you just say, I want to build some muscle, I want to get in great shape, try to have that synergistic program of strength training, a little bit of movement and cardio, and the right nutrition, you could literally make a wholesale life altering change in 2 30-minute weight sessions a week. You could. I mean, you could break up the body. You could do a lot of my 30-minute twice a week clients they come in on one day. We do upper body push pull, chest, back, biceps, triceps, throw in a little bit of abs. And then on the second day, we'll hit legs really hard and then throw in a smaller muscle group to break up the legs a little bit, like shoulders, and then conclude with maybe a little bit more core or some lower back or some mobility. And then they are out of there to do what? Go home, eat, and let it grow. And I've
Mm.
seen staggering results with real people in the trenches doing just that. And then I tell them, okay, in addition to these 2 30-minute strength sessions, I want you to throw in 3 30-minute sessions of walking, just walking. Just get out and fucking walk. Take the dog out, go for a walk. I'm not telling you to go be a runner. I'm not telling you to be a triathlete. I'm not telling you to do hours and hours of mind numbing cardio. I'm just telling you to move. And if that isn't your thing, then I'm going to say, okay, the other alternative, if you don't want to do structured cardiovascular activity, is I want you to strive to turn on your little smartwatch and get 15,000 steps a day. If you're active enough in your life to get 15,000 steps a day, then you could probably forego the cardio and get away with that. So now it's just down to being movement, sustaining movement throughout the day, 2 to 3 sessions of strength training in the gym for no longer than 30 minutes, and then a supreme focus on your diet, and then adequate rest and recovery. That is the
Seriously,
synergy.
everyone could have the time to do that.
Yes, they
There are
could.
no
So
fucking excuses.
absolutely. We talked about it the last time. It's like, the bar napkin. I could write down 4 things on a bar
Yeah.
napkin and say these 4 things on this little napkin. Here they are. Oh, hi. Okay, do these 4 things as
Was that an
prescribed.
actual napkin?
I wish it was. That would be super cool. But do these 4 things, consistently for the next 6 months, and you could completely change your life.
Yeah.
They're going to say, "Well, that's easy." And I'm like, then my reply would be, "Okay, show me." And then we talked
Yes.
about it. If you draw a map, the map looks easy. Okay, here's point A, and then you follow this straight line to point B, and you arrive at your destination. I didn't tell you that you're going to have to climb a barbed wire fence, walk through a creek, climb a mountain, go through a shady neighborhood, go have a back alley knife fight with a crackhead, all in order to get to the final point. It's not the map. It's not the prescription so much as it is the follow through. Actually doing it, finding that consistency to do these things. Everybody talks about motivation. Motivation is bullshit. Motivation doesn't exist. It's short term at best. It's a firecracker. It's a flurry of explosions and then it's freaking gone. So you've got to find the dedication to, in those days when, okay, I need to go to the gym, and I open up the door and it's 27 degrees outside and it's dark and it's cold, and you're like, screw that, and you shut the door and you go back in bed. Well, that was the monumental decision right there. It's not the workout. It's not, it's the decision that you made to not be consistent in your endeavor and stay true to your level of dedication to take you to the goal. Once again, you and I just walked through the prescription. Yeah, well, that's easy. Oh, a couple of days a week of strength training, 30 minutes. I can do that. 15,000 steps, or just go walk 30 minutes in my neighborhood, go walk the dog. Hey, great. Fido will love that. Oh, eat clean. Oh, well, Pim told me how to eat. She laid it all out for me. No problem. Well, let me get back to that person in 6 weeks and see how they're doing.
Yeah, we know how they're doing.
We know how they're doing. And some are going to do phenomenal. They're going to take the ball and they're going to run with it, and they're just going to absolutely crush it. And some are just going to completely fall apart. I would never mention names, but I am going to bring up this point. And I have a guy, and this is frustrating because I want this guy to succeed. He has now enrolled in every program I offer, every one. He enrolled in my platinum program. He enrolled in my Apocalypse Challenge. He enrolled in my tier 1 strength training program. And he enrolled in my gold coaching package. Any one of these could give you profound life-changing results. He did every one. He sent me a paragraph of how this time he's going to do what I say. He needs a coach. He needs accountability, and he's going to finally make it work this time. And he just did the gold, the 5th thing that he tried with me. He did 1 week and quit. I'm like, dude, I can't help you. I don't know what's going in your head to where, somehow you think putting in a credit card number and signing, the paperwork for you to be my client is somehow going to transform you. I mean, at some point, didn't you think that you might actually have to do some consistent work? I mean, it's so disheartening. And so this last time I was just like, whatever. Okay. I mean, sometimes you just got to let these people go. Sometimes you got to take that one bad heifer, let them jump the fence and leave the herd, because you can't help that one. Go back to, leading the real herd to their destination, who are
the hardest thing to do.
It's the hardest thing to do. And, it's
those are the people I'm like, I want to help you.
I
You
know.
need to want to help yourself.
100%. You got to want to help yourself. You got to be willing to help yourself, and you got to be willing to have some level of accountability, and do the fucking work. Life's tough. Wear a cup. Okay. It's going to be challenging. You're going to get the shit kicked out of you on occasion. But it's through those moments of tenacity and being challenged and being punched in the mouth that if you can keep forging ahead under those circumstances, those are the people that are going to succeed. They're going to win. You got to have some tenacity. From the entire spectrum of the programming to just what we were talking about on that one set of 8 reps. Get the fucking 8th rep. I don't care if you're bored. You fight that damn thing, because that fight on that last rep that's the one that's going to push you to growth. Not reps 1, 2, and 3.
At the sky.
See? Okay, he was right. But the point is what reps 1, 2, and 3, what did those do for you? Nothing. They were just rungs of the ladder that took you to the top. It was that 8th or 9th rep or that 10th rep. That was the one. And then you stopped right before it. You were so close. I'm just asking you to suffer for 15 seconds and then success will come. I will stop screaming at the sky now. And
It
if
was
that
funny
guy
though.
that made that comment is out there, I apologize. Clearly, you were correct.
Clearly.
I own it. I own it.
And I love statistics because it's kind of funny. Imagine 1 hour out of the 168 that you have every week is 0.6% of your time.
I
Can
use
you
that all the
suffer for
time. Yep.
0.6% of your time to get the results that you want?
Yep. I tell people that. I tell them, you come into this gym 2 days a week for 30 minutes. That is a minuscule amount. And yeah, anybody can be motivated for that, minuscule amount of time out of your week's allotment. It's what you do, the other 99 point whatever percent of the time where you're left to your own devices, where you screw everything up. So you've got to find that ability to not only crush it when everyone's watching, but crush it when nobody's watching.
Hmm.
It's the old scenario. If I walk into the kitchen and I get a handful of M&Ms and nobody saw me do it, it didn't count.
Yeah.
People literally think that they'll admit that they'll say they don't, but then why do
Yeah.
they you know how many clients I have that say, I was doing really good on my diet, but I had a few of Mikey's French fries. I had a few of my son's this. I had a few of my daughter's that. Or Sheila, the coworker, came in and I nibbled on a piece of the cupcake, but I wasn't really that bad. I'm like, at the end of 1 week, what do Mikey's French fries and Sheila's cupcake, what are they going to add up to? And
Mm.
all those tiny incidences of I did these little things when nobody was really paying any attention. And now I'm wondering why I can't get to where I want to go. It's
Yeah.
consistency of effort over the long term. And then it's about, completing a task. And we live in the greatest temptation culture of all time. At every turn, we're tempted. And by some of the most hyper palatable, addictive foods known to man and ever in our existence. I get it. So, you know what? Sometimes you just have to work harder. You just have obstacles in your path that you really don't have much control over, and you just have to toughen the hell up. I say you can't go to the hardware store, at least over here in the States. You can't go to the hardware store and buy a fucking screwdriver without being tempted by candy bars and soda at the checkout counter. So I
That's
get it. It's
crazy.
hard. And if you're an addict, imagine being a raving alcoholic and every time you went to go buy, toilet paper at the drugstore, the clerk is offering you a shot of whiskey. I
Mm.
mean, that's basically what's happening to us. But
Yeah.
in our culture, it's like, oh, you can have a candy bar. Nobody blinks an eye at that. But look how damaging it can be for that individual. It may be completely toxic and ruining their life and everything that they want to accomplish.
Yep.
So, I guess that's the real question is how do we continue to stave off that temptation that's there at every corner, which is what
That's
you
what I
do all
do.
damn day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And just something that you said that I want to repeat is the like what you're doing when no one is watching, that's what counts, because that will show you where your mindset, what your mindset is like if
right,
this is important to you, you're not going to do it when no one's watching. You're just
right.
going to be the person you want to be, whether someone's watching or not. We're not doing things to perform for others, we're doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing a competition, then you might
Right.
do it for others. But it's still for
Yeah,
yourself.
that's true. And to be fair, I mean, and it doesn't have to be a physique competition, but clearly when you fill out the form online and you give your credit card to pay the entry fee, and I would then encourage you to tell everyone in your circle that you're doing it, announce it on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and let the world know that in 7 months, 8 months, 1 year, I'm doing this physique competition. I mean, it is a level of accountability. It's putting a measure in place, and that's why I can only remember, and I've been coaching competitors online since 2019. Of all the ones that I've coached, I've only had one say, fuck it, I'm not doing this. This is too hard.
Nice.
Every other one, dozens, have completed the task and came out so much of a better person because of it.
Mm.
And so, maybe there has to be some measure of goal, or it has to be goal oriented to some degree, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it's as simple as saying, "Hey, schedule a photo shoot, pay the photographer, get an expensive one," um, or commit to going to a tropical climate and laying on the beach with your best friend in 6 months. I don't know what it is. You would probably be more qualified to answer that than me. I just yell at people clearly who don't, acquiesce. But yeah, I mean that's the challenge. So maybe having a goal is a nice measure to help people continue to move down the path. I know it
Yeah.
worked for me. I remember clearly, a couple of my competitions were right around the holidays. There were, fall shows over here in the States. It was right around Halloween, Thanksgiving, when it was all about, chilly weather and lots of comfort food and candy and this and that and celebrating and celebrating. And like, to say no to that at every level. I mean, I knew that in order for me to be my best, I would have to say no to one bite. And I did. If I was offered one bite, even if that wouldn't have hurt me, which it probably wouldn't in rare cases, it was maintaining that level of discipline and dedication to the task that it became ingrained in my psyche just to say no, and felt better for that. And I coined a phrase that a lot of people in my groups use: be the freak in the room. And when I say be the freak in the room, that doesn't necessarily be a physical freak. That
Yeah.
just means to me, in the things that you do throughout the day are so counterculture to what everyone else is doing around you, they're going to label you a freak. So when you go out to the boss's retirement party and there's 25 people there and there's drinks flowing and appetizers and shitty food everywhere, you're the one sitting there, not consuming or ordering something completely off the menu that's completely different, saying no to the drink, no to the toast. Well, you're being a freak. They're going to tell
Mhm.
you're being a freak, and
Oh,
that's
I've
okay.
grown up being a freak because
Oh,
I never liked alcohol, so
yeah,
I'm definitely a freak. But
weirdo.
I did like the sugar.
Well, that was your alcohol.
Yeah.
So you got to be the freak in the room no matter what you do, because if you tell people I'm just eating meat and eggs for the most part, and I'm lifting weights really, really intensely, and that's what I'm doing, then people think that is insanity. But going out to a bar and getting hammered and eating freaking cheese fries, and then going to the Waffle House afterwards because you're drunk and need bullshit food, that's okay. That's socially acceptable. But what we do
Yep.
is, we're freaks. So be a freak, wear it proudly, be the freak in the room. That's what you got to do.
Yes. Let's do some questions now
Oh shit, we
from
have
other people
are
than
the
me.
people still here?
Well, some have dropped off, to be
Uh,
fair.
I
But
figured they all tapped out by now with the old guy
yes.
screaming at the sky.
Jenny says, hit the smash the hit like button. What the fuck? I can't even talk. Smash the like button. See,
That would be
I'm
great.
dyslexic today. That
Yeah.
would be great.
Hit that like button. And if you have not subscribed, then you suck and you need to do that too.
Yes, and not subscribing is the biggest cause of long lasting osteoporosis.
Yes. Your
Yeah.
bones will shatter if you don't subscribe.
hmm Um, so Kathy says we all need a good ass kicking every so often, and then she has a question, and I'm going to fill in on that question because I spoke to Kathy yesterday. She says, "What is your best advice to do a successful cut while maintaining and building muscle?" So I spoke to Kathy yesterday, and she's been doing a cut with a trainer before, which has meant that she had to go down on her fat. She's carnivore, and from memory, she was recommended to eat about 100 to 120 grams of protein per day and down to 80, 90 grams of fat.
Okay.
Now, she has maintained her weight in the past by eating maybe slightly less protein, but absolutely more fat. And now she's gaining weight. So I did recommend that she's just playing around a little bit and have 3 high fat days and 4 days a week where she is right now. And she's going to
Okay.
try that this week. So that was my advice. Now to your advice. So just so that you have that in mind.
Well,
And
then
there is also a lot of stress going on in her life,
yeah.
which is one reason that I think higher fat might serve her very well.
Yeah, I mean, then clearly continue to take that nutritional advice. But on top of that, it's a very simple answer. Regardless of what anybody tells you, when you're in an energy deficit, which you must be in order to get peeled, you're going to have an inevitable slight loss of muscle. It's nothing that you can do about that. That's just the game we play. You go through a gaining phase and a slight surplus, then you go into a slight energy deficit. You play with the macros in order to remove excess or unwanted body fat to change that body composition. But there will always be an inevitable loss of muscle mass. That's fine. We accept that these small losses in the grand scheme of things. Now, so the goal being to maintain as much lean mass as humanly possible while shedding as much body fat as humanly possible, there are really only three things you can do. Pim suggested one of them, and she's absolutely correct. And a lot of people don't realize this. Number one, high levels of protein, period. Number two, hard ass training in the gym. You have to convince your body that the preservation of lean mass is critical because of the stress that you are applying to your structure on a regular basis. The signal is then sent that this person is under physical duress, under resistance, under load. So, because of this constant, steady influx of this stress, we better maintain as much lean mass as possible to be able to handle it. That's logical, rational, physiological thought. And then the last thing is stressors, the release of cortisol, all of these things that are going to, pull away from your sustaining muscle mass and quite honestly, just losing gains. And to alleviate that, any amount of physiological or physical stress can be a deterrent. The only positive stress would be those short-term workouts that you're doing. Long-term or systemic stress is going to be bad things. So making sure you get adequate sleep is going to be critical. Lack of sleep is a stressor. You're going to make sure that any emotional stress at home, stress at work, whatever is stressing you out, you need to find ways to alleviate that, because yes, that will lend to the loss of muscle mass, especially because you're in an energy deficit. When I'm dealing with my clients, when they're getting in the latter stages of a contest prep and they're really cutting, the thing that I keep pressing on them is, apart from the, train hard, diet perfect, get your steps in, do all these things, as I say, you got to relax. You got to de-stress. Focus on sleep. When you're not training, relax, lay around, put your feet in the grass, sit in the sun, alleviate as many stressors as you possibly can. And that will go a very, very long way. And at least slowing the amount of lean mass that you may stand to lose in that deep energy deficit, trying to get to that really shredded and peeled physique.
Nice. Right, let's move on to Tracy again. So she has a several post answer to our previous answer to her thing. So she says, thank you, 59, lifting since 20 years old, but born with congenital scoliosis and disease where I lose calcium and sodium, predominantly carnivore, take biphosphonate infusion yearly for 10 years. Went osteopenia year 8 and 9, year 10 went down 8% and devastated. Thank you. So don't really worry on the stopwatch, but go by how I feel. Also will add plyometric. I have always worked to failure.
100%. I mean, she just said it. I mean, that's not really a question. 100% go by feel. I'm not one of these. I don't sit out in the gym, with a calculator and a stopwatch and a clipboard and a whistle, and I'm not doing complex
I'm
theories.
disappointed.
I don't walk around with my tablet. I walk around in a stained, stinky sweatshirt, ready to go to battle, and just bleed if I have to. So, we kind of touched on this already, but just to reiterate, I'm going to do that first feeder set of roughly 60 to 70% of my maximum intensity level. And then I'm going to go to a very dark place in my mind, and I'm going to focus, and I'm going to get my shit together, and my workout partners who have been training with me for years are going to tell me that I need to get my shit together, that we're not there to chat. We're not there to take selfies. We're not there to check our Instagram. We're there to absolutely kill. So when feel like I'm sufficiently mentally prepared to attack this final set, that's when I then walk up to the machine or the barbell or the dumbbell or whatever, and I go after it as hard as I can. Am I better on some workouts than others? Sure. I mean, of course. But I'm always striving to be the most focused that I can possibly be to get shit done. And that's another, that's another pro about high intensity, low volume. To continually try to work up that kind of, level of intensity for an hour at a time is just not possible. But to say, I'm going to do these 3 exercises and I'm going to do them to all out failure to the death, because I know that is my best chance of getting growth and, compensating and then overcompensating for this movement, that's what I'm going to do. So, I don't like to put timers and stopwatches on things. In other words, the app that I use, here's an example, does like, I put this exercise, this many reps, this, I'll give some instructions to the client. And then the app automatically sets 90 seconds rest between sets. Now I can adjust that. I can make it 60 seconds. I can make it whatever. I don't even mess with it. I tell my clients, ignore that. Ignore that. Now don't be sitting around. Don't be diddling on your damn phone or talking to the attractive girl or the handsome man on the machine next to you. Get into that place where you can, get yourself mentally and physically prepared to go to battle for that final hard set and then get that shit done. So it's a lot easier to be able to muster up that kind of intensity and focus for 30, 40 minutes than it is meandering around for 2 hours. So not really much of an answer. I think it sounds to me like you already know. So I'm giving you permission to carry on and go kick ass because it sounds like you're doing it right.
Good. Now I have a question for you. Are you one of those that I'm just gonna do it, and everyone will hear you in the gym?
No. I think that's, well, paint a picture. I'm doing a set of heavy deadlifts. That's an aggressive movement, right? If my body naturally is just fucking dying, and I've got 400 pounds halfway up, and if my body decides to get that rest of the way up, then you might hear that. That's involuntary.
Yeah.
That's not on purpose. I have a private gym, and normally when I'm training, it's just me, my workout partners, and maybe one other trainer in there, maybe. So this is not about vanity. This is not about being showy. This is not about, you'll notice I'm not posting, anybody that pays attention to me on Instagram, I'm not posting my workouts and like, ooh, never,
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should, but I won't. But I am going to start doing training tutorials. I've decided I'm going to start doing that.
Nice.
I'm going to bring the tripod out into the gym and start doing some exercise tutorials, some tips. And I have a new trainer here in the gym. He's on my team that I just hired. And he is a highly competitive IFBB pro bodybuilder. So I've got this perfect model for me to coach through some difficult movements and give instructions, so it's going to be good video content. So that'll be coming soon. So
nice.
Check out my YouTube if you feel so inclined, because you're going to see that kind of stuff popping up. And if you want some real entertainment, you want to really see a shit show, you want to see somebody really fail at his craft, I'm starting to do cooking tutorials. Now, cooking tutorials, that phrase is a stretch. What it is I'm doing what I really haven't seen done before. I literally cook my meals on the fly in real time in my gym. And it is very blue collar.
In the gym.
In the gym. I've got a little workspace. I've got this little plug-in electric burner and a little hot plate kind of a deal, a little tiny refrigerator and a microwave. And I'm going to start doing these little videos on how do I cook these, carnivore basically style meals in the gym in 10 minutes while I'm working with, 12 clients in a row. So it's going to be entertaining, but I also think for people who just give me some simple shit that's going to help me grow and recover and be healthy that I can do
Yes.
quickly. Then I think it's going to help people. In fact, I am actually about to post my first one, and it is very stripped down. It's not well edited, and it's very, like I said, it's not fancy. But at the end of the day, I think that's what people want. I think they want real shit from real
Is
people.
that on YouTube or Instagram or everywhere?
YouTube. All this will be
YouTube.
on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to have a
That's
lot of fun with that. And on my next video, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite carbs for pre workout.
no.
You need to screenshot that shot that we just did because that was
Yes.
spectacular. Yeah, and if you want to know, if you really want to be offended by the C word, listen to the last video that Pim and I did a week or so ago.
Oh my
That'll really
goodness.
get your panties in a bunch.
Yeah. Excellent. Next question then. Carl says, is there a build-up time before you start lifting to maximum weights? 68 years old.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you want to slowly titrate up and really, you want to develop. If you haven't built a base level of muscularity, then certainly that's something you want to build up to do. But you also have to understand, like clearly you're not going to want to go to like heavy deadlifts and back squats to failure at 68 years old if you haven't been training, or maybe it's been 10 years or 5 years or forever. Obviously, it's something you're going to want to build up to or sort of on ramp onto the program. So when I get a new client who maybe hasn't been training or they're new to this level, then I definitely, the first few weeks, I will tell them that we're just blowing the dust off. We're just conditioning your muscles to be able to handle an increased load slightly beyond the level of intensity that you're used to incorporating in everyday life. And then we slowly build up to that. Now, I wish I could give you a definitive answer, but that level of time is different for everybody. It could be 3 days for this client. It could be 3 months for this client. But ultimately, the goal is to get that person to a level to where they can proficiently do big movements, to that level of momentary failure with. Now, the key there that people can't lose sight of is when you're lifting with this intensity to that point of momentary failure, it still has to be with really good form. That's the key. Like if I'm doing back to the pull downs, if I'm doing them here and it's everything I got, but my form is staying really crisp, really clean, then that's fine. I'm not risking injury. But if I'm doing all kinds of crazy contortionist bullshit to get the bar down, then I am risking injury. So, you have to
Oh,
be
we all
very
know those
clear with that.
people.
Yeah.
Is it,
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
now, obviously, some slight variation in form is going to be expected when it becomes super intense, but there's sort of a gray area that I allow because I've been doing this
Yeah.
for so long, where if they're just on the brink, but then I'll know to let them go, just let them go. But if it gets too bad, I'll end the set, explain what happened, maybe refocus and maybe try it again. Or if I feel like, hey, they worked really hard on that set, I think we're good, we'll build on that and attack it again next week.
I call them wrigglers
Yeah,
because they're wriggling the weights.
it's a good term. It's a good term. Now, so yeah, I mean, I hope that answers Carl's question. I appreciate the question. 68, dude, kick ass. You are awesome to be not watching this and talking about lifting maximum weights at 68 years old. You are a badass, man. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Go for it, Carl. I'll check in with you later.
Yeah, keep in touch, Carl.
Yeah. Tracy again. You suggest 4 days, i.e., 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, or 2 off, active rest of the 3 days.
That's what I do. Yeah. Through all of my competition prep years, I did a 4-day split, occasionally a 5-day split, but it was a separate body part. So it wasn't like I never repeated body parts. And some people think, oh, that's antiquated. That's a bro split. No, I call it a pro split because if you look at any like highest level physique competitors, they're still doing certain body parts on certain days. And I can justify that by saying, if I work my back super hard on Monday, then I'm going to give it as much time as possible to compensate and then overcompensate before I attack it again on the following Monday. If I hit back again on Wednesday, then I'm running the risk of short-circuiting the growth mechanism by creating an inroad to recovery. So I think a 4-day split is ideal. Some of my clients do a 5, but once again, we're still splitting up body parts. And I'm still making sure that if they only do 2 days rest, it's 2 days of full, as much rest as humanly possible. But I do like the 3 rest days. I think that's ideal. And if you're doing any activity on those rest days, it should be definitely low intensity, low level stuff. I mean, if you're out, chasing the kids around the park, that's fine. Mowing the lawn, that's fine. But, going out there and doing, sprint intervals on hills and justifying that as a rest day is kind of defeating the purpose.
Yes. um, cheating to overtrain. Excellent. So these are just some comments. Your average person needs to do less if the intensity is for real, twice a week at most. Real high intensity weight training is cardio, and Body by Science is the book to have, which is actually in my bookshelf as well. I'm gonna assume that you have read it and that you know what it's about.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with all the tenets of it, but
No, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, what do you think about it?
I think to say you can only train 2 days a week is misguided. I think there is a way to train 3 or 4 days a week if it is structured correctly, if you're still putting the proper emphasis on recovery, if you're putting the proper emphasis on your nutrition. I think that all plays a role. I have had clients as well as myself do staggeringly well on a 4-day split, really focusing on the recovery. But once again, hey, what do I always say, kids? Even you in the back, quit picking your nose. If it's working for you, keep doing it. However, if there's any hint in your brain that what I'm doing seems to be working, but maybe it's not optimal, then perhaps there's another way that we can approach the situation. Like for instance, my 4-day split is typically like back and rear delts on Monday. Then I'll do like a heavy shoulder session on Tuesday with chest, and sometimes I do it with triceps. I'll do a heavy leg day on Thursday, and then on Friday, whatever whatever body parts I haven't hit, whether it be a chest day or an arm day. And the way I have it structured, I'm giving all those body parts ample time to take advantage of the recovery process. But another thing to his point, where I would agree with him, is let's say I come into a Thursday or a Friday and I'm not feeling fully recovered. I need to listen to my body. Pushing that session off another day might be the most intelligent thing to do, rather than just, I'm going to gut it out and do it anyway. Well, that's Neanderthal thinking and not always going to be the wisest choice. So again, I mean, some people, I work with do a very hard 3-day split and it works great. Some of 4, I've already said it previously on this show. Some of my clients do a 2-day split and they do very, very well with that. But for me, if for higher level, high goal oriented hypertrophy training, I like that 3 to 4 day split.
And you actually say you can listen to your body?
Imagine that. Isn't that strange? Like
yeah.
It talks to you.
Yeah. I mean, if you plan 4 days a week, you're a lazy motherfucker if you don't go 4 days, surely.
Oh, completely. Yeah, absolutely. Said somebody. I'm not sure why that. I don't know what that means, but if I'm selling a program that says 4 days a week, by golly, I'm going to fight that to the death.
Yes,
and that brings up such a good point. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God. This carnivore, some people in the weight training space, they have an identity. I am Joe Johnny Carnivore, and I only eat meat and salt. Well, if they said it 3 or 4 times and they sold some coaching and they sold an ebook and they, got on, a huge podcast and said that, then they have to stick with that because they think that is going to keep the revenue stream going under that ideology. It's a lot sexier being like, I am this guy, this is what I identify with, and this is what I do. That consistency of ideology and methodology is easier to sell than me sitting here saying, well, it depends. We might need to do this. We might need to do that. We might need to do this. And there is a segment of the population out there that wants to hear that. Now, albeit I think it's less than your typical consumer that just says, I'm going to try this program and not do it. And then I'm going to do this program and not do it. And I'm going to try this program and do it and think I'm getting the best results, even though something deep down is telling me it's not quite optimal. I'm still going to do it anyway because I paid, $49.99 for 6 months for it or whatever. So, they have to stick to this ideology in order to sell. And I have had recently, I might have mentioned her in when we spoke the last time, but I had this beautiful young girl who's a physique competitor trying to make it to the highest levels, who was previously working with another coach that he's known for being high fat. I'll just leave it at that. Very high fat. And that's fine if high fat works for you. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Let me be very clear and on the record. If that works for you, fine. However, she was finding lackluster results or what she felt was optimal results within the physique competition realm doing that diet, especially in the latter stages right before going on stage. And I echoed that to her. I said, no offense to your former coach. I'm sure he's a fantastic person. I'd love to have a beer with him, even though he only eats meat and salt. I think not doing this, and this, even though you're, leaning on the carnivore side of things, is insanity. If you want to win, it's not about my program, because my program is going to be different from Sally to Jane to Tom to Bob. It's about what Sally, Jane, Tom, and Bob need in order to be the very best that they can be based on their goals, genetics, lifestyle, past history, whatever. So there has to be some leeway in there. It's like, when I say, have 30 grams of carbs prior to training, there are 37 people out there start throwing knives at the computer or and then there are some people say, well, that makes sense. So, you pick your poison, but, you can't please the world, and everybody's going to have a different view in this internet, YouTube, Instagram era. So be it. I mean, I will take that smaller segment of individuals who like a more individualized, nuanced approach based on what they need, what their body reacts to, that we can kind of carve out in real time in the trenches with them, than just say, this is what I do. You will abide to it, or you will be stricken from every obelisk, stricken from every record, and you will no longer be part of the community, and I will no longer coach you. I mean, what kind of an asshole does that?
I guess some people will be curious now.
Yeah. Or something.
And yeah, Jonathan, you are late because he asks a question that
Jonathan, you are the man. Jonathan, he's the man.
He says, show us your guns. You already did that.
I did that once. And I actually keep my gun in the saddlebag of my motorcycle, which is out on the workout floor. And I'm not going to go get it now because that would interrupt the flow of the show and you might offend somebody. So, that you need to have me back on your show, and then we will compare guns. Yes. Any kind of gun you want at that point. Okay.
That is a perfect answer.
Yeah. Jonathan's the man. I think very, very highly of him. Love that dude. And I think it's awesome that he's here.
And it's very late for him right now. So
yeah, what the hell, man? He probably had something like actually important to do.
See, I'm curious who this coach is. I know everyone on carnivore, but I don't know anyone like that in the bodybuilding carnivore space. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have no idea who this guy is.
No.
Yeah, no idea.
Well, you can invite him on your show and ask him.
Yeah, again.
Again. I had a podcast which went off the air for you, especially. Bloody hell.
Damn. See, this is why you're the man.
Mm-hmm.
We're just happy to be in Jonathan's space, just in that
exactly.
realm.
We only have air rifles over here, in fact.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Us crazy Yankees and our guns.
Oh, that's a lie, Jonathan. You're not always here for me. You know what? I have these Zoom hangouts for my people in my Facebook group every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And when Bart had his live streams at the same time, Jonathan was never present at my Zoom hangouts.
Well,
So
that sucks.
that sucks. I mean,
Yeah, well,
where's your loyalty?
I think Jonathan's character is shining through on this live stream right now. So
Mm.
that might,
And
might
if
might
you
need to be
missed
an
it,
intervention. Yeah.
yeah, I just want to kind of, I don't know if you heard about and Nicole and Alia, they have a little competition. The first one to 1,000 subs, or the one
Mhm.
that doesn't reach 1,000 subs, is going to have to eat a Pop Tart live on YouTube.
Well, you don't have.
I'm one.
I'll eat the Pop Tart anyway. In fact, we
Well,
should do a
I
live
didn't want
stream
to.
where it's just Rob eats Pop Tarts.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but Jonathan said something. It was on another one of my live streams. I wonder if it was the live stream with Nicole actually. And he said he had a goal of being the biggest um, bodybuilding YouTube channel or something. So I'm wondering if we could get a competition between you guys.
Oh, he'll win. Nobody wants to see an old man scream at the sky.
Are you
I
sure?
mean, they want to see a jacked, good-looking guy like Jonathan, speak intelligently about things.
Where is your fighting spirit? That's my question.
In the gym, I left it on the barbell. No, I mean, I want that too. But yes, let's do that, please, sir. Let's do that live stream. Just let me know when, and we'll make it happen, because I think we could have a lot of fun with that. But I was going to say something, and then he interrupted me. Rude,
Yeah, and he's very
rude.
fucking rude.
He's very rude. But
Hundreds
no,
versus Pimps 6. Well, at
I
least I
like.
have quality people
Yeah,
watching my shit.
well, there you go. No, I like the uniqueness in what I do. I think I've kind of got my groove, and you know, uh, this is a funny admittance from me. It's funny. I'm going to be very transparent right now. Through my YouTube journey, as I was competing, my channel was all about how you can train, build a physique, even compete if you want, eating keto, low carb, carnivore. I kind of became that guy, right? And then when I stopped competing for a little while, it's almost like I felt weird identifying as that guy, because I was no longer actually getting on stage anymore.
Mm.
And I know that's stupid and that's horseshit. My wife told me that was horseshit. You know how she will tell me,
Yeah.
and she's like, you stood on that stage, you won those trophies, you won those medals, you suffered, you have been doing this for 30 years at a high level and have trained thousands of people. You're okay to stay in this niche. And then recently, now my channel is small, and because I really haven't done anything to try to promote it other than just upload videos. And people like yourself, Bart, who I love to death, has really helped me, get some exposure. But I kind of got away from that hardcore, visceral, just who I am. And my last 4 videos were sort of a return to, this is how you train. This is how you eat. If you want to get jacked, you want to get peeled, this is what I did. This is what's going to fucking work. Blah, 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 blah. And in a row, it's 4 of the most successful videos I've ever done in that amount of time.
Woohoo.
Which tells me that's what people want to hear. They're
Of
like,
course.
dude, this is what you do. And like, what am I going to do? Go talk about, sun exposure or all the other X factor things. Well, yeah, you can mingle that shit in, but there are other people out there who would do that far better than I can. So it just really dawned on me, dude, stay in your lane. Do what you know, do what you're an expert in, do what you have been doing at a very, very high level for nearly 30 years. And in the ketogenic realm, low carbon carnivore realm, I've been doing since 2010. So, I've earned my stripes. And I don't say that to beat my chest or brag, because I got to a very humble place where I almost didn't feel like, I should continue to speak on that, because I retired from competition. But then I realized there are a lot of retired bodybuilders out there
Oh yeah.
who, went through hell for many, many years. And, I sort of built my reputation on being the guy, along with others, but not many, in that small little niche of how can you maximize muscle, get really jacked, peeled, strong, function, all these things without emphasizing carbohydrate to a high level. So I'm like, you know what? I need to give the people what they want and what they expect from me. So you're going to see a lot more of that kind of stuff in the future.
Nice. I think I'm the same. It's like I've done a lot of interviews in the past. Now I try to keep it on topic, except for when we do things like these live streams, which
Yeah,
it can be
there's
a
no
little bit of
topic.
everything. Exactly. Because, yeah, I do get more views when I'm doing interviews that fit more people. But it's not about the views for me, and it's not necessarily about the growth of the channel. It's about helping the people that actually need to hear my message. And if that is just 5,000 people versus having 30,000 following me, then I'm going to take that hit because
Yeah.
those are the people that I want to help.
Yeah, it'll come. I mean, the subscribers come in time. If you're sincere and you're putting out quality stuff and you believe in what you do and you hone that craft over time, then the followers and the support, it'll take care of itself. It'll come.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do some dog and pony show and be someone I'm not just to try to gain a couple clicks. I'm going to stay true to who I am, and if people want to follow along, that's fine. It's back to my Facebook group that I started way back in like 2016, 17. I didn't think anybody would want to be a part of that, and it's got 11,000 people that are
Hmm.
highly active, and I'm like, well, where the hell did this come from? So
Yeah.
it's a cool thing. It's a cool place to be, and I enjoy it. And people like myself, people like Jonathan, even to some degree Bart. I mean, we have a definite level of uniqueness about us, so we need to stay true to what we do. So, speaking of Bart, that son of a bitch was going to find a special time spot for me to be on his show because
Hmm.
everything on his calendar had me like being behind the camera at like 3 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
So he
Because
never
he's
got back
lazy.
to me. But
I shall kick his ass when he wakes up. It's now 9:42
clearly,
a.m. and he's still sleeping.
clearly he's only going to contact me when he's like, okay, I'm in a dead spot here. I don't have any quality guests to have on, so I'm going to fill a little space with that guy. So I get it. But with that
He's in a
said,
dip right now. He's like so unmotivated to do anything, so he probably forgot about it, to be fair.
that's totally fine. One day he'll remember, and that'll be good enough.
It will
But
be today.
love Bart, love Bart. He's always been extremely kind and generous to me, and I will always appreciate it.
Yeah, and I can kick his ass, so you don't have
And
to.
you can kick his ass.
Yeah. So Jonathan has more comments. He likes your spirit in his video, in your videos, informative stuff, and he has sent you a message. And he's also going to record some workouts, so you can record your
Absolutely.
workouts and compare and help
Yeah.
each other out.
There's got to be a way that we can do a Zoom workout tutorial. Is that even a
That would be
thing?
cool.
That would be cool though. Yeah, we could work that out. We could do something. I mean, geez, what we should. People, there aren't many of us in this space, so we need to support each other and join together to push the message that you don't need to eat chicken and rice every 2 hours to have a phenomenal physique and even compete if you want to. So it's a cool message.
I'm going to reveal something here. Thanks to you, Jonathan, because Jonathan did his little fruit and honey experiment and he felt like shit. I thought I was going to challenge myself, and I haven't said this to anyone because, frankly, I was a little bit nervous. I have, on purpose, eaten a lot of crap, as in sugar, for a week to see what it does to my brain and how fucking hard it's going to be to go back to doing what I used to do. And I'm now back to doing what I used to do. Day 4. Yesterday was the first day I started to feel okay again. But I'm gonna probably do a whole podcast episode about that
That would be very
bec-
cool.
because my clients, I teach them how to have like exception eats without falling off the wagon, etc.
Sure.
But like, what happens if you do it for a week? And I
Right.
have been eating cookies and cakes and and eventually by the end of the week, I was like, this is nice. So yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what happened, but
Well, I can't wait.
I did it, and I'm doing it for you guys to actually show you what to expect if you do that. And yes, I did it on purpose. I did it with the intention of doing it for a week and then stop. So it wasn't like I'm just totally out of control, but started to feel quite out of control by day 3 or so.
Wow, that's really interesting. I love that kind of stuff.
And I
Yeah.
have gained weight.
Yeah, I watched Jonathan's video on the fruit and honey thing. That was good. That was real good.
And one thing that is very interesting is when I start eating carbs to this level, I need to go up and have a wee every night at about 3 and 4 in the morning.
Sure. Yeah.
Jesus, that's annoying.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and for me, that's why my hybrid, for lack of a better term now, because it's evolved so much, my hybrid ketogenic bodybuilding approach,
Yeah.
you could call it hybrid hypercarnivore, where I utilize specific carbohydrate around training and then specific structured refeeds. There is truly a limit to what, there's this sweet spot where if I get to this point, I perform great, I look great, I don't put on any body fat, I don't have any inflammation, I don't have brain fog. But if I go this much farther,
Hmm.
the wheels fall off
Yes.
completely. And I have clients that do that as well. So, when people think, take what I do and make it simplistic. Oh, that's the guy that, eats like carnivore most of the time, but then pounds a bunch of carbs on Saturday and around his workouts. I don't pound a bunch of anything. I occasionally, in a very structured way, only what I tolerate and what serves me well, take in a very specific amount to achieve a purpose. And I
Yes.
determine what that is and I act on that. And the thing for me is if I go over that threshold of carbohydrate or eat the wrong kind of carbohydrate, I go off the rails. And for me, since my body has got so sensitive over the years, seed oils and additives disrupt me even more than carbs do. Like if I eat something that's soaked in canola oil or peanut oil or has MSG or a lot of preservatives, that even affects me harder than if I had too much, rice or fruit or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's an interesting experiment, what you can tolerate and what works and what you have to exclude. And that's why, once again, sort of the theme here is everybody has an individual tolerance and it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. On that note, actually, when we were away, how long was it? But I don't know, a month, 2 months ago. We
Yeah.
were on holiday and we were traveling and we were gonna eat dinner somewhere and they were not opening for hours. Everything is closed between like lunch and 5 p.m. and we we tend to want to eat around 2, 3. So we're
Right.
like, okay, we're really fucking hungry. We don't want to wait. There was one restaurant open, so we decided to just order a lot of starters and there was some we had some chicken wings, we had some calamares, obviously deep fried in batter,
Sure. Yeah.
and some other stuff that probably had some oil. All of it was kind of meat based and it was low carb, but probably not cooked, the way that I would cook it. And some of it was deep fried, obviously. And I just like pounded those calamari because they were really nice. And the day after, oh my god, my hips, my lower back, everything was so stiff and
Mhm.
sore the next day. And that is the major thing that I noticed. The first thing I noticed on inflammation.
Yep.
And even after a week eating sugar and no seed oils, I was making everything myself. Yeah, I can feel like there is some inflammation, but not to that degree. Not what I got from one day of eating deep fried crap
Oh,
out.
absolutely. I'm the same way. Yeah.
So I hear you, and I think that's probably the most damaging thing that you can do. Now, I very rarely eat seed oils. I haven't done it for probably 20, 30 years,
Right.
probably like a very, very long time, just occasionally. But that just goes to show how freaking bad that is.
Yep. It's terrible.
Yeah. So sugar is actually better, but I don't get addicted to seed oils or calamaris. I get addicted to sugar. So
Right.
that
Yeah.
was
I
my
mean,
experiment.
like I said, there are very few blanket wrongs, like do not do this,
Yeah.
that don't cross over. And avoidance of seed oils, you could say, is advice you could give to every human being. There's no one out there would say, well, this person does good on a little bit of seed oils in the right amount. You can't make that phrase like you can.
No.
Like if I say, Jennifer does great with 18 grams of rice-based carbs 30 minutes before training, there's nobody I've ever worked with in my life or ever will where I would say, well, what we do is we give them this much canola oil on Saturday. I'm like,
Yeah.
you'll never ever hear that. I mean, that's one of the absolutes that we can all agree on. And so yeah, I mean that stuff is just, it's machine lubricant. I mean, it's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's totally toxic.
It's not for bodies.
Yep.
Jonathan, apparently I'm much more normal than he is, so I'm a more robust human. Robust says the dude that is like huge.
Uh, you're robust. Okay, I'll write that down. I'll start
Yeah.
referring to you as the robust Pim.
Oh Jesus, that sounds like I'm some sort of mountain of some kind. Um. Okay, actually, I'm gonna have to start finishing up here because I have a
Yeah,
client in 10 minutes, so or nine even.
yeah. It's almost
And I've
six
been drinking a
o'clock.
lot of coffee.
Yeah, me too. It's almost 6 o'clock here, so I've got a family that's probably wondering where the hell I am. So I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to jumping on my bike and making my
Nice.
30-minute journey back home to see the family. And but this was worth every second of it. I always enjoy doing this. So we need to do it again.
Awesome.
We need to pull
Yes.
Jonathan in, get
Yeah.
Bart to get off his lazy dead ass and actually do something for once, for Christ's sake. Come on,
He has
Bart.
been going with me for walks 4 days in a row, and those walks
Yes.
have been between an hour and a half.
Well,
So
please
he's
tell him when he
moving.
finally decides to roll out of bed that I said hello and I miss talking to him.
I shall do that. I'll
Great.
catch him after my clients, I think.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. I
My
really do
pleasure.
appreciate you and the very sound advice that you're giving. I think you have just such a good way of looking at things, and that's why I love having you here.
Well, I love people, and apparently I like screaming at the sky, but
Yeah,
it all works together. But anybody out there, subscribe to Pim's channel if you feel so inclined and you're brave enough. Give mine a try, and I
do it.
hope to do this again anytime, whenever you want. I truly enjoy it. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And by the way, Jim's beard is a lot bigger than yours. Just saying.
I am working really freaking hard at this. Okay, you've struck a nerve now.
Jim, we need to. I
But
mean,
I'm
it's
trying to
long.
get
It's
that
really
epic
proper.
Viking beer. I want to be able to
Yeah,
like put beads and shit in it. All right. So
he can do that.
the next time you see me, hopefully I'll be like bead worthy and I'll get
Excellent.
like axes and shit. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you.
All
Okay,
right.
I'll see you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.
Bye.